Welcome everyone. Today we're going to try a flank steak beef stroganoff. So we used a larger piece of flank steak. As you can see, we took the time to slice it up in about 1.5 to 2 inch pieces, cut very thin. We had more than we needed, so we were able to prepare this, layer it between parchment paper, and freeze it for the next time to make it. I use white onions or Vidalia onions. I typically cut the onion in half, cut off one end, do a side slice down, and then turn it parallel and slice down so I get nice small cubes of onion as I'm going through this dish. It's a quick and easy way. I learned this originally from the French guy that is often spotlighted on Jamie Oliver for his French onion soup. Amazing little trick. Keeping the stem on one side holds everything together while you're slicing and dicing. Next up, we're going to use some peppers. I'm going to use a green pepper and a yellow pepper for this stroganoff dish. No difference in flavor really, just mostly bringing in a bit of color. I typically slice off the top of the pepper, pull out the core with the seeds from inside, and then slice the pepper in half, coring off some of the inner cavity so that it's easier to slice when I start dicing. There's nothing better than the smell of fresh pepper as you're slicing it. Reminds me of prepping for the summer barbecue. I would say, 2-3 inch slices so that there's a bit of bulk to the stroganoff so that they don't get too soft in the sauce. Really just slice it in quarters down the middle and then in, slice. You can prepare these in advance or at the beginning of the week if you know you're going to have a couple dishes with peppers. It's really quick and easy. Pull them out and just throw them in the frying pan and saute them up. I love fresh garlic. I know it's very easy to buy the jar where it's all minced, but if you can get fresh garlic, especially if it's Canadian garlic, and just grab a couple cloves. I typically slice the ends off the cloves and then do a bit of a smash with the knife to loosen it up, and then that skin peels off quite quickly. Once that is done, I literally just press down with the knife to give it a little push, and the garlic is there. I peel off any remaining skin, and then it's really just a little bit of a chop, so you have that fresh garlic smell. All of that flavor is ready to be set loose in that frying pan. I don't know about you, but fresh garlic, it is head and shoulders over the garlic that's prepared in the jars. I know it's so convenient when it's in the jar, but you don't get half the flavor. And quite frankly, who needs the olive oil? You just want that fresh garlic sizzling up in your frying pan. There's nothing but a beautiful fragrance from that garlic. We've looked back at what's required for this dish. The recipe is below, but obviously we have some flank steak, we have some onions chopped, mushrooms, peppers. We bought some fresh pasta. We did the Farmboy fresh pasta, some cream cheese, and for your seasonings, some salt and pepper. You'll need some garlic. You'll need a little bit of tomato sauce, or we used a Heinz 57 sauce here, some Dijon mustard, and you're going to need some starch to thicken this as we move along. So preheat your pot, your frying pan to about a medium heat. Let that heat up. When your pan is at the perfect temperature, drop a little bit of olive oil in there. If you throw all that steak in at once, the heat of the pan is going to drop, the oil that you're frying in is going to drop, and you're going to have a lot of these juices from the steak come out and almost try to stew the meat. Sear it up, get a good brown, set it aside, salt and pepper, and then come back and do the second batch. I use about a pound of mushrooms here, so sliced mushrooms, you can use any type. These are just regular white mushrooms. Grill those for about 8 minutes. As they start to caramelize and golden brown, you can set them aside in a bowl. I add salt and pepper at the end of cooking the mushrooms. Next up is the onions. However, it's important to note that when you're cooking the onions, you want to salt them up front so that it helps with the caramelization process. Cook the onions on a medium-high heat. Allow them probably about 7 to 8 minutes. It's probably a good time to refill your wine glass because everything goes great with cooking. Tonight we're drinking Côte de Rhône, but it's a beautiful Côte de Rhône. Back to the frying pan, you can see the onions are starting to caramelize nicely. I'm going to add my garlic to start giving that aroma of garlic and to give that a little bit of a fry. Peppers, yellow and green, added in. We're going to give these a bit of time, and when the peppers are completed, we'll push all of this to the side. I'm going to add a bit of butter. The recipe probably doesn't call for butter, but everything is better with butter, as my mother-in-law Nancy would say. When these are about complete, set them to the side of the pan. Take your tomato paste, or in this case, Heinz 57 sauce, throw it in the middle of the pan. Let that fry up a bit, maybe about 30 seconds. It starts to bubble, it starts to caramelize. Then you're going to add your Dijon mustard. Once the Dijon mustard is there, give it a little stir, make sure that they're blending well together. The heat starts to set this free. Add in your Worcestershire sauce. You'll really notice the fragrance of everything starting to come together. So previously I prepared some beef stock. We're going to now add a cup and 3/4 of beef stock will now be added. You can see on the pan as the sauces are burning, when you add the beef sauce, it's going to loosen all that flavor up. It's going to bring the coloring forward. Let this simmer for a few minutes. As this is simmering, you're going to give it a couple seconds, maybe a minute or two, and then you're going to grab some of that liquid, throw it back into a small bowl, add it into a dish to stir. You're going to add your 2 tablespoons of starch to make a bit of a slurry. Just stir this around a bit. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I really love a nice creamy beef stroganoff, so at this point I'm going to add my mushrooms back in. I'm going to add the steak that was set aside earlier. Add this in, stir it up, and of course we're going to top this with about a half a block of cream cheese to just bring that cheesiness, bring all of those flavors together. So you'll drop in your cream cheese. You're going to let this melt a bit. The heat from the frying pan is really going to help this along. Give it a few minutes, let it melt, then stir it together. Keep stirring, mix everything around, and you'll see with the starch and the cream cheese, your sauce is really going to thicken up. The beef is really going to mold to the sauce. You're going to see those fresh peppers. You're going to smell that garlic, and you have a really nice creamy beef stroganoff. At this point, you're going to return to your pot of boiling water. You're going to drop that fresh pasta in there and boil that for 3 to 4 minutes. We've used the Farmboy fresh pasta. Totally recommended. It's nice. It takes 4 minutes. It's a very meaty pasta, served al dente. The flavor is delicious.